Hey folks, this is Mark Henry here to do a YouTube Live. Now, I posted that I was doing this earlier today. What I forgot to do during the first post is to mention the fact that it is 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I amended that later, so I hope that we get a few folks who are interested in participating tonight. And by the way, if you hear a dog barking in the background, that is my youngest dog, 6-month-old Freya, who is a wolf spitz, otherwise known as a caissons. So I'll bring her kind of on to show her to you all at some point later. I recently had my other dog died, which I mentioned in another video. So we'll kind of wait a few minutes to see if anyone else comes on board so we can have a good discussion occur. So one of the main reasons why I like to have these YouTube lives is an opportunity for me to connect with you all to see if you have any questions or if you want to have any comments or chat about anything. It also gives the opportunity if anybody wants to ask questions during these YouTube lives regarding the previous videos that I went since the last YouTube live. So let's see, I believe that we did one on the principles of psychic gambling, which was the most recent one. Psychology in the world of magic, musicians in the world, who worked with demons. We did one magical thoughts about the future, sound of music and angelic communication, and mental traps to avoid in practicing occultism. So that's kind of what we went over. So feel free to chime in and say something. I'll kind of make some comments on a few of those. Let's start with the most recent one, the principles of psychic prediction. This one was focused on gambling. Now, this isn't the first time that I've done a video on using intuition and psychic abilities to try your hand at gambling. Gambling is a very divisive topic. It really, either people get excited about it or they get really upset about it. And it just really grabs people by the balls, so to speak. So I'm always careful when I do one. For example, some people are of the opinion that you should not even try to use any of your abilities to either influence a game or to detect the outcome of a game. And for me, this whole thing isn't about gambling. Gambling is just a vehicle. The whole idea of this is to test your abilities to see whether you can, predict what's going to happen. It's kind of what the rubber hits the road type of thing, because a lot of times in gambling, it isn't ideal conditions, especially when I talked about the previous casino work. Now, I was talking about the most recent video about online gambling with apps and things and sports betting, and that's kind of something a little bit different. It's conditions are a little bit more amenable and you don't have a lot of environmental stimuli that can distract you. But I think that it's definitely something worth experimenting. I talk about in that video to, a lot of these apps will let you bet like 25 cents, 50 cents, just something to get in the game so that you can, you know, try your hand at making a prediction. So anyway, that's kind of what I talked a little bit about in that video. I talked a little bit about musicians who worked with demons. I talked a little bit about Robert Johnson, who I believe he's referred to as the father of the blues, who living in Mississippi. I think it was Clarksdale, Mississippi. He was kind of a musician who wasn't getting very far. His friends, were saying, don't play with us. You're not very good. And then he decided to see if there's anything to the legends about, going to the crossroads with your guitar and asking for a demon to help you become better. And he kind of went through that experience according to the story. And within a very, very short period of time, everything changed. And I've seen interviews with his friends and everything. And they said that he was no longer even the same person. He even had a lot of fear that this deal that he made would somehow come back to haunt him. And he died at a very young age, so who knows whether that particular spirit called upon him to fulfill his end of the bargain. But rock and roll is, especially heavy metal, is something that's not. There is the whole legends of, occultistic, using occultism and to making deals and partnerships with spirits in order for people to get fame. It's the whole Faustian legend of, you give me this, and I'll give you my soul or my spirit. It's kind of an old kind of story. Talk a little bit about mental traps to avoid in doing occultism. A lot of times people will be power hungry and they will use the occult in order to, their whole end goal seems to acquire things. And there's certainly nothing wrong with acquiring more wealth and more things that you need. But I think that at some point, especially as we mature spiritually, that we should, and not hard to even say should, I would say hopefully, that we grow to the point where that is not the highest aspiration. That we have kind of higher ideals at some point. As they say, we can't take it with us. When you look at that back from at your deathbed backwards, are you going to worry about how many toys that you've had, so to speak? Or are you going to be more concerned whether you led a good life, treated people well, had good relationships, all of which can be, achieved through working with energies. But Happy New Year to you. But the world is not the materialism is not the end goal for a lot of people. I find that people who get that way, it's almost like you go in one direction too far, too extreme, the other side pops up. It's the yin and the yang. So we have to kind of find a balance. And speaking of New Year's, New Year's traditionally, they've, at least in American culture, saying that, okay, it's New Year's. What is your New Year's resolution? What do you want? So, the end of a year, chronologically, the end of a calendar year, the beginning of a new year, what is it that you want? And I would encourage you to not just think about it in secular terms, but do you have things that you want that could be applied, or magic can be applied to it in order to bring it about? Maybe faster, maybe more powerful. For example, what would be your long-term goal? Because we can break up a goal into, okay, so here's what I want. And by the way, it's always better to, this is what I want rather than this is what I don't want, because that's much easier to manifest magically. our brains don't register negation the same way it does with positively worded statements. So what you would do is you'd think about, what is my long-term goal for the year, and what is kind of a short-term goal. Now, your short-term goal may be, or series of short-term goals might be, what are the 3 steps to get to your long-term goal? Because we can break up anything into smaller pieces, and that would be something to think about, and something to even write out. There's so many things that are just kind of in our head, and you'd be like, oh, that's a good idea. Why don't I think about that? Why don't I do that? But to actually write it down is to concretize it into onto paper, onto something physical, so that you can see it. It isn't something very ephemeral that kind of goes in your head and leaves. It is something that you can refer back to. Even when we're talking about magic, working with petitions, you're working with a 7-day candle, and you write out, what it is in written form and putting it on the candle. There's something about the act of writing that is part of manifestation, and we relate to it very easily with our brain. And again, those are our long-term goals and our short-term goals. But as I mentioned before, the goals that you set are going to be a part of what is your value. What are your values? What is important to you? Now, when you're working with your goals, another thing that I would encourage you to think about would be, if you have some type of mental health needs that need to be taken care of. That should be something to think about. Self-care. Some people work too much. Some people drink too much. Some people do other things too much. What is it that you feel like you need to be able to take care of yourself better, and in turn maybe function a little bit better, so that you would have more of yourself. Hey there, Eternal. So that you have more of yourself in order to put towards these goals through which you're going to be applying your magic. It is very hard to do magic when you are operating at 15-20%, when you're sick, or you're constantly intoxicated, or you just don't have much of yourself in the equation. Magic is the relationship between you and reality in the world of magic. And within this conversation, your connection to yourself, to connection with your creativity. You might want to create a new magical intervention that would work. So you would need to have a relationship with the creative part of you. So those are my brief thoughts on New Year's. I know that some people think it's trite to come up with New Year's resolutions, and then some people get frustrated. Well, I can't do this. It never works out. I can't do that diet that I always planned, or I can't stick to that workout schedule. That is certainly not a reason to give up. It might be a reason to change your approach, and maybe a reason to apply magic to it if you didn't do it in that particular way. But usually when I'm hearing about this, I'm not necessarily seeing that people are doing energy work or magic in this particular area. I see a lot of people just using willpower and white knuckling it, so to speak, and that Sometimes we just don't have. We just need extra help, basically. And by the way, I didn't mention this before, but in case you all are interested, I, of course, have an Etsy store. If you want to level up your magic, if you want to reach your goals, if you want to have the energy of God, goddess, spirit, angel, or whatever infused within you in order to bring about certain realities, then check out the Etsy store. I just put in a new attunement called the Genius of Relationships. It's brand new. I'm excited about it. So if you want to attract, nurture, nourish relationship, then check that out. I'll put a link in the description. And by the way, I put a disclaimer because this is about relationships, right? This attunement will not force people to be in a relationship with you. It doesn't work that way. This is not a binding type of energy. This is you are working with energy so that either to attract someone or to help a relationship grow. And this is giving you the best chance on your end and with what you can do for that both of you to win. This is not going to be, okay, so this person is not like me in any way, doesn't like me, and that this attunement's going to make everything better. It doesn't work that way. So if you do find that that happens and all of a sudden you kind of break up and people part company, then it might be the case that it was meant to be. Could be the energy is going to be helpful to you for another companion. So in any case, I don't want to get far off onto that, but if you're interested in that, check out the link in the description. Mark, I have a question about how one get out of a pact made with a demon. How you get out of a pact made with a demon? First thing that you would do would be to probably have a conversation with this particular entity and see whether you can kind of get out of it. You know, that would be the first thing. Sometimes pacts are made and we don't always know what's going to be on the other end of it, especially if there was any surprises. So that would be the first thing that I would do, especially if it was made in bad faith. So I don't know how all this played out, so it's very hard for me to give kind of a general kind of answer for you. I do believe in upholding my agreements. So if you feel like whatever it is that was on your end that you could not fulfill, you absolutely cannot do it. But if I haven't developed the skills to have that, I did the pact through petition. Okay. So you are rethinking the pact. For example, you feel like that you can't. I don't know. I don't know the pact. This is kind of a long conversation. I don't know what type of agreement that you made. But if you can't talk to the particular spirit, if you find someone who is remote view soccer matches. No, I don't remote view soccer matches. But kind of, as I was saying, that if you don't feel like you have the skills in order to communicate this, you can probably find someone and hire somebody to act as your advocate, the devil's advocate, so to speak, and see what can be done. Okay. I hope that you all had a good Christmas. You know, one of the things that happens during Christmas, because Christmas is very much a Christian holiday, but it also coincides. Hey there. Christmas also coincides with Yule, which is a pagan holiday, and usually, if you're more of a traditional type of witch, will honor the Sabbats and the Esbats, the holidays of paganism. And Yule is the longest night of the year. So if you're somebody who resonates with the darkness, that would be something to maybe do a ritual during. Yeah, darkness is the only thing I don't like about darkness is lately with my work schedule, I get up at 4 a.m. and I don't get home until about 7 p.m. on Wednesdays. So that is weird, leaving when it's dark and then coming back when it's dark. It's almost like you lost track of time. Betting on soccer, soccer games, football games, it really doesn't matter. I might have. Soccer would be a good sport for me or people to bet on using prediction, especially if, like for me, I played soccer when I was younger, but I haven't really kept track of it as far as teams are concerned. And I even mentioned this in the video, that I actually do better in making predictions when I am less familiar with the teams or the players, because I have less emotional investment in it. If I'm like, oh, I really want that team to win, I'm already going down a bad path, because one of the things that can happen is that your unconscious mind can say, well, we really have a response to this and we really like this, so it's going to interfere with the signal, at least from my experience. So what I normally do is, cool, glad you made it. What I normally do is we'll pick, let's say it's mixed martial arts, I will bet on fighters that I don't know and don't care about, or maybe even be neutral about. I won't have a feeling for it one way or another. If I really dislike a fighter, I won't bet on him. If I really like him, I definitely won't bet on him, because I need to have that little bit of objectivity and lack of bias. So yeah, I probably mentioned soccer. That would be, I think I've looked at that in the past. Soccer, tennis, football. I've placed bets in all of those. I'm still working on it. I've had people who were very ugly with me saying, well, if you were really good about betting, then you would be a millionaire and you wouldn't be doing these YouTube videos. Well, this is more about growth and learning, like I said earlier. And it's not about money for me. I'd still do YouTube videos. Because I have higher values than just money in my life. So no, you can't pigeonhole me that way. All right. Cool, GK. I'm glad that you made it. I remember that in the past there were times when you weren't able to make it, so I'm glad that you made this one. So for those of y'all who are on now, of course, once we're finished, feel free to watch the video from the beginning. I think with the people that are here now, that quite a few of them weren't there in the beginning. But I'm glad everybody's here. It's more fun when we have a little bit of participation. And one of the things I want to mention is that I apologize that I wasn't able to kind of keep up with my schedule. It happened to be this holiday season that Christmas and New Year's fell on the weekend, which is normally when I do my videos, which has really made it hard for me to do that just due to holiday stuff, family stuff, obligations to people that you love and care about you, that it made actually doing things on the same time that I normally do it virtually impossible. New Year's, I'm having quite good results in soccer. Okay, very nice. I will read that comment from top to bottom when we finish. When I'm doing this YouTube on my phone, it just pops up for an instant. So forgive me if I don't address everything. I find that Christmas is very distracting. And it's not that Christmas, the holiday itself, the energy or anything. It's more that here you have just around Christmas, or just around actual Christmas Day, people, driving out, there's tons of traffic going into stores. There's a lot of random energy. People, running into you with shopping carts, and it just seems it's just very chaotic. And I thought that it's kind of a strange sort of thing that here we have a holiday full of Jesus and white light and merriment, and then at the same time the shadow aspect of the holiday is I'm pissed off, I'm anxious, I don't have any money because I spent all my money on presents. There is that side of it too that no one really talks about, but it's all wrapped together in one ball. So I hope that you all had a good Christmas and holiday season. New Year's isn't so bad. New Year's there aren't really any big expectations or obligations. Maybe you get together with your friends and family, drink some champagne, and yeah, so much to do in such a little time. Yeah, you get together, drink some champagne, toast to a potentially, a fabulous year coming up, and that's that. So and then at least down south, I don't know if they do it up north. On New Year's Day, we eat cabbage and black-eyed peas for money and luck, another type of superstitious type of stuff. I think I even did a video way back on Louisiana and food and magic and things like that. So if you check that out, if you are inclined. Okay. Anything else? Anybody want to talk about anything from the previous videos? One of the things I've been thinking about doing, because I'm a very new guitar player, I am learning. I'm experimenting with different notes and chords and things. I'd like to see whether certain sounds are going to attract certain spirits through the instrument. We all know that we can do that through our words and through our chants, which are all vibrations, just like musical instruments. Okay, cool. Great minds think alike. Something about the guitar. For years, people have accused me of seeing me play somewhere at these various venues, and oh, your band was so good and you played really well and blah blah blah. And over time, I felt bad telling that it wasn't me, so I started playing along. One time I took a couple pictures, and so yeah, that was kind of fun. But guitar and other musical instruments are great because it's the hair. Musical instruments are great because it really can sharpen the mind. and you are doing something that is auditory and something motor with your hands at the same time. So I am at the moment taking lessons from a really good guitar player, one of the best in my state. So we'll see what happens. Maybe in the future I will play for y'all. Okay, and I didn't mention that I have a Patreon. Some of you are aware. I put the second part of certain videos on Patreon. So if you want to learn more and deeper into certain videos that I post, feel free to check that out. I'll put a link in the description. All right, folks, about to hit the 30-minute mark, and that should be it. Thank you all for coming, and feel free to watch this video in its entirety from the beginning. Okay, well, I will see you later. Take care. Bye-bye.